5:10, just about 5:10, and it is still Monday, but it's Monday evening now. It is the 14th of April. Gonna look something up. I got my cat coming, meowing at me. I hope everyone has a good start to the week. It's been pretty good for me. But hot. 85 degrees today. This is the first hot day of the year at 85. It won't last for long. It's back in the 70s tomorrow and then back in the 60s after that. Our friend Chris K is here. Hello, Chris. How are you? How are you feeling today after your adventure yesterday? Chris says, how are you today, my friend? I'm doing pretty well. I'm actually unusually sleepy. You know, I don't get sleepy that often. So I take it that it's probably the heat, the weather. Chris says, I'm feeling a lot better with myself. Good. Glad to hear that. It seems to me that yesterday was like a pivotal moment where life could have went so many different directions, and it went in the most peaceful way that it could have. That you reached that pivotal point and everything came together for you. Chris K says, there's a problem that concerns me. Happy to listen. Don't know as I have advice, good or otherwise. Don't know if I can be of help, but I'm always willing to listen. And sometimes that's enough. I'm looking up some stuff. I'm getting in the mood for Carlos Castaneda, which I've talked about quite a bit. So I think my attentions, my reading, possibly my writing, might steer in that direction. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. Chris K says, it makes me nervous. Well, as I said, if you would like to share, no pressure if you don't, but if you do, you know, I'm happy at the very least to provide a listening presence. And maybe through the process of you writing and me listening, you might come to some insights. Lewis is here. It is what it is. How are you? Had another great session today. So I think what's drawing me back towards Carlos Castaneda, which is the shamanic principles of the Toltec tradition of Mexico, is doing films, doing my little, using my little handheld camera, being out in nature. Of course, I'm always out in nature, but when you do that, almost like you're stalking, and that's the key word that I'm thinking of here. Lewis says, I'm doing great, Eric. Did 113 5 pumps live. I popped in. I had it planned for a while. Chris K says, okay, forget about it. Chris, you're more than welcome to share. Like I said, I'm happy to listen. So it is almost like it's almost like I'm hunting when I use that little handheld thing. Of course, I don't hunt. I have way in the past. I did not enjoy it. I loved being out in the woods, and I even like shooting. But I found I didn't like shooting anything. So that was something my father discovered. He grew up hunting. It was a family tradition generations back. His father was famous in that area. He's been written about in quite a few of the Pennsylvania hunting magazines for his hunting prowess, specifically bear hunting. He was a nationwide sought after guide. People would come from all over to have him guide them on a bear hunt. But my father, he discovered it wasn't for him. Chris Cray says, I have sent the problem I am telling you about, but it seems no one can see my message. You know what? A few people had that problem the other day. I don't know why. I'm seeing if I can discover how to fix it, but I don't think I can. Oh, Chris says I am talking about WW3, which seems to be starting. Man, it's definitely scary. We got some stuff going on in the world. I don't understand it. It is a lot of posturing, a lot of ego. Our friend Goldie is here. Goldie, how are you? Goldie says, hi there, love the people. Chris K says, did you see the news about it? I haven't, well, I've seen some articles talking about Putin and Russia. Him saying that he would like to strike the U.S. And then, of course, we have Iran talking, Iran doing a hit against Israel. It can be a scary time. Goldie says, getting ready to sleep. I'm not too far behind you, Goldie. An hour or so, and I'll be getting ready. Goldie says, Chris, it's all about egos. Man, it certainly is, Goldie. I've talked about that before. You think about the war with Russia and Ukraine, it's all based on one person's ego. We can't even say that it's egos there. It's ego. It's one person's ego needing to bolster it, needing to stake a claim, stake a position in the world. People have died because one person made this decision. And everyone blindly in his country followed him. The military. I don't want to blame Russian people. It would be ridiculous. But at a certain point, I know because Mocha being in the military, my father being in the military, you obey your orders. But at a certain point, when you're told to invade a country, it seems, I don't know, you got to take a stance. Chris K says, I'm afraid of going back to the war. Goldie says, but I'm not going to let fear rule my life. It's two persons' ego. Believe me, it's at my borders. Yeah, we still have to live our lives the best that we can, and we still have to offer out a light, our own light. The weird thing is, in the history of warfare, it's never really worked. Otherwise, we'd just need one, and it would have solved other problems. You would think, with the dropping of an atomic bomb, everyone would have seen the futility of war. And yet then it ushered in the arms race, the Cold War. Everybody wanting more and more weapons. For what end? Because it only takes 1, 2 atomic bombs to end everything. Goldie says, let me ask you a question, Chris. Will fear prevent you from being sent there? Chris says, no, it won't. How do you think this will involve Greece? Goldie says, then why fear something that you can't change? That is, I mentioned this before, wise words from Goldie. And it reminds me again from the teachings of Sila Bob Admonson, who wrote a book called, he gave a series of talk, and it was put into a book by a friend of mine, Gilbert Schultz. And it is, what's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? If you think about war, now I'm not saying ignore conditions that might lead to war. We can't do that, but we can work towards peace. It is what it is, says no one has the balls to start a war, Chris. It is what it is, says fear God and no man, period. Chris says, but you don't know my past, and you haven't seen the things that I have seen in my life. No, this is true. I do know that you were a soldier in the special forces, so you were in the thick of things. Goldie says it's not balls, it's madness and egos. I think we could say that's the same thing, Goldie. Madness and egos. Letting the ego rule, believing the ego is the one making the decisions, the important decisions, believing the egos are who we are, is certainly madness. That's the whole lessons from A Course in Miracles, when they talk about how the ego was born, that it was a mad idea in which spirit forgot to laugh. Chris K says, we all have our stories, and some of them are good and others are bad. This is true. Goldie says, I'm not saying that I feel you or understand from experience. I'm just saying, I'm just sorry for your pain. Lewis says, man's ego is nothing to fear. At the end of the day, we will all die. That's certainly true. We will all die. Reminds me of what I was talking about earlier with Carlos Castaneda. who talks quite a bit of using death as an advisor. If you knew death was imminent, and we never know that it isn't, then ego is put aside. How much of our own self-importance, our own pettiness, our own fragility would matter if you knew in the next 5 minutes you were going to die, in the next 10 minutes, or in a touch? And the truth is, we don't know if that's going to happen or not. We simply don't know. So Carlos Castaneda would say that the Toltec tradition, death is always stalking us on the left side, ready to tap us on the shoulder. We never know when that tap is going to come. So take it as an advisor. When you're caught up in your own self-importance, when you're caught up in that ego chatter, look over your left side. Imagine you see death there waiting. With that being the case, a lot of self-importance is simply removed from the equation. Goldie says, of course, Chris, and the debt that all men pay. Chris K says, what I'm trying to say is that I've been fighting for half my life, and things weren't easy. I hope I made myself clear. You did. You certainly did. And it's understandable. Especially, as you mentioned yesterday, you're going to be asking someone to marry you in a couple weeks. And you've been through a lot already. So we can't say it's not a possibility, but it's not happening now. So put our intention towards peace. If we are those of us who pray for peace. Decades and decades ago, during the Vietnam War, a radio interview with Mother Teresa, and she would ask if she was asked if she would participate in a march against the war, and she said no, which really surprised a lot of people. A lot of radio callers called in and couldn't understand, and she said that when you protest a war, you are lending your energy to war, even if you don't want it. However, if we ever had a march for peace, she would join in the front line. So war is a possibility, but peace is a possibility as well. And the one thing that we can do is find ourselves at peace. Make peace with ourselves. Then we can make peace with a neighbor. We can help them make peace with themselves, and so it can spread. And I'm not saying that's going to solve world problems, but it's the one thing that we can control. You can't control any world leader. You can't control any general, any army, any soldier. You can control yourself. You can be fearless in the face of fear. Doesn't mean you won't experience fear, but you accept it. There's a possibility of war. There's a possibility of all kinds of stuff. Possibility of another pandemic, unfortunately. But be fearless in the face of all that by living your best life possible. Surrendering. I mentioned before the Bhagavad Gita. I'll get back to that. Let me catch up with the comments here. Goldie says, I understand what you were hinting to. However, I don't know from experience. Yeah, so few of us still. So few of us have, fortunately. Lewis says the world is a stage and the rollers are playing us like a violin. I agree. And again, the one thing we can do is we just put our focus on ourselves, growing our own presence of peace, making ourselves immune from being played. Goldie says, Chris, that's awesome news. It is, actually. And I can understand, how that would lead to a sense of anxiety in the face of what's going on in the world. Chris says, the only thing I want now is to spend the rest of my life with my future wife, which I will marry in 3 weeks. It is what it is, says, congratulations, Chris. You'll get that opportunity. War's not guaranteed. It never is. I always hold out hope for peace. And again, we're not going to control anything whatsoever except for developing our own sense of peacefulness. Not to get too yogic with everyone, the Bhagavad Gita talks about the path of surrender. That we are entitled to our actions, but not the fruit of our actions. Meaning we simply don't know what fate has in store. We can't know. So we can't, and I believe Jesus alluded to this, and I'm trying to think of the right passage, that, we keep our vision on the here and now. Everything else will take care of itself, one way or the other. If your present moment is steeped in peace, you certainly have the aspect of a better outcome than if it's based in fear. For one main reason, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Do you want this moment to be based in fear, or do you want to live it fully? And I think that's what Goldie was saying. That it's not denying that something might happen. It's not denying that something bad might happen to any of us at any time. But we simply don't know, and we simply can't know. But what we can know, what we can experience, is the peacefulness of this moment right now. Right now, we're not at war. Right now, we're not threatened. Right now, I'm in a peaceful state of mind. I could change that by thinking of all the threats that are out there. I could change that by thinking of my present financial situation. I don't want to ignore that. But right now, I got a roof over my head. I got bills paid. I got a comfortable life. That's my present situation. I focus on that. And I work from there. I'd rather work from a sense of peacefulness. Chris K says, I don't want to touch the battlefield ever again. And I certainly want that for you as well. Goldie says, congratulations, Chris. Such great news. Chris says, thank you, my friends. Well deserved, and she's a very, very lucky and fortunate lady, Chris. Lewis says, I hope you don't, Chris. Focus on you. Exactly. Focus on you. Focus on your marriage. Focus on your bride. Goldie says, why worry about tomorrow? Will your worry add even one day to your life? Worry about today and let tomorrow worry about itself. Perfect. Absolutely perfect, Goldie. So I've talked before about the what's called the, Goldie says, of course, paraphrasing. It's not word for word. It's close and it gets the point across perfectly and beautifully. Much appreciated. In Transcendental Meditation, they teach what's called the Maharishi Effect. They've actually done quite a few studies, and it has been studied by some pretty big institutes. And the Maharishi Effect, named after the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, founder of Transcendental Meditation, is that if one person in a family meditates, the entire family, the entire household, receives benefit of that meditation. The entire household is more at peace because of the peacefulness of that one person. Raises the frequency. If 1% of a given population meditates, then the entire population can benefit from those meditating. Meditation develops a great sense of internal peace. If you want peace in the world, what are you doing to foster peace within yourself and to live that peace day to day, every day? That's the Maharishi Effect. Chris K says, if you don't worry about the future, then you are just someone who does things only for fun without thinking about his action results. I don't think so, Chris. I think there's a difference between focusing on the present moment, doing everything that needs to be done in the present moment, and the present moment keeps unfolding. So you're always in the process of taking care of yourself. You're always in the process of taking care of the ones that you love. Because you know this present moment spreads onwards, spreads outwards, incorporates everything. And Goldie says, I'm not talking about providing, I'm talking about worrying. Which I agree. And at the same time, the best way to say this, take care of yourself, take care of the ones you love in the present moment. And it's always the present moment. Always the present moment. Chris K says, okay, let's talk about worrying. There's a difference between planning and worrying. Something bad can happen. I live in an area that gets an occasional tornado. It makes sense to be prepared for a tornado. It doesn't help for me to worry about a tornado, especially when nothing has been said explicitly that a tornado is going definitely to happen. We don't know that a war is going to happen. We don't know that violence is going to happen. A possibility, but we can be prepared for any eventuality, but not add our worry to it. That takes us outside of the present moment. So it's a big difference. This might happen, and if it does, this is what I'm prepared to do, versus this could happen at any moment. I simply don't know what to do. Our energy being frantic. Sort of like pulling guard, getting centered. Goldie says, I'm not talking about being a party person. I'm talking about making the best of the moments you spend with your loved ones. Make them count. Tomorrow was never promised. This is true. We're excellent words from Goldie. Goldie is steeped in her faith. And I find that when she offers these words, how similar these traditions are. Those words could have been spoken by Jesus, offering them to someone who was concerned about all the deadly possibilities at that time. Words could have been offered by the Buddha. It could have been offered by many yogis. It's perennial wisdom. Let's see. Goldie says, can any of us know for sure we will wake up tomorrow? And again, that's exactly what Carlos Castaneda was referring to. Chris K said, let's say someone is going to harm me the next day. What would you do? Worry for today, for tomorrow. Well, how would we know? If I knew for certain 100% that someone was going to harm me tomorrow, if I even suspected it, I could be prepared. Do what it takes to be safe. Do what it takes to protect my loved ones, to protect myself. But then what else can I do? As I think Goldie would point out, after I'm prepared, after I know that there's a possibility of many things that might happen, if I worry about it, if I keep worrying about it, is that going to make any difference whatsoever? If I'm prepared. Here's the thing, Chris. You might, I can't say for certain, you might have to go to war. It's a possibility. It's also a possibility that you won't. You worrying about it right now, is that going to change the outcome in either direction? So you can mentally be prepared for the possibility of having to go to war, and that's going to help you relax. You can mentally be prepared for not going to war, to have a beautiful, peaceful wedding with a woman that you love and live the rest of your life in peace. That's as likely of an outcome of going to war. And either way, you can be at peace. If you have to go to war, you'll do what you have to do. You won't want to, but you'll do what you have to do. You've been there. You've been a soldier. You've been a soldier, again, in the thick of things, special forces. And I know that's not what you want. But no one can promise you that it won't happen. Worrying about it's not going to prevent it. Goldie says, we have so many things for granted. We take so many things for granted. We count them as rights when they're only privileged. Even life is a privilege. As Goldie pointed out, and as it is what it is pointed out, it's not guaranteed. It's not promised. It is definitely a privilege. And it's a privilege that I'm thankful for every day. And what keeps me thankful is knowing that it's not promised. For me, it's a miracle every morning, not just for me, for all of us, waking up every morning, which is why the very first words out of my mouth simply thank you. Lewis says tomorrow isn't promised. So with that said, um, years out of the picture, in my opinion. I agree. Goldie says, Chris, the man I love, is doing humanity work in Ukraine. I might never see him again. What am I doing about it? I'm fasting and praying for his safety, which is action. That's where peace emanates from. It is what it is, says Goldie. Stay strong. Seems like you got it handled. I've been in your situation, Goldie. Mocha was a Spanish linguist. And then she was taken out of being a Spanish linguist to be trained in Somali, which never made any sense to me. And then she was taken out of Somali and told that she was going to Iraq. And this is in 2008 when things were bad. 2007, 2008 when things were bad there. And we were already on the verge of separating at the time. She didn't know what to do. Her daughter, my stepdaughter, was starting high school that year. I stayed. I took care of Anika, my stepdaughter, and kept things together best that I could. I didn't know, I knew that, of course, Mocha, being an intelligence, she wasn't on the front line. But in Iran, everywhere was the front line. So you gotta focus on peace. I did a lot of time, spent a lot of my time meditating, focused on that peace so I could be a good stepfather for my daughter, so I could be a good husband supporting Mocha when she was away. At the same time, I was taking care of my mother, who had Alzheimer's, and my father had had a stroke. So things were pretty bad there. Chris K says, how long has he been there? Goldie says, I trust in God to keep him safe. And it's in his life, his will, to bring him back to me. And again, that's what Krishna meant about surrendering. We surrender everything to God. Surrendering everything to God doesn't mean that Goldie's love isn't going to do everything he can to stay safe. He certainly will. I certainly hope he will, and I will add him and Goldie to my prayers. Though, it also probably gives him a sense of peace, knowing that Goldie is staying centered, is offering those prayers, is doing that fasting, is doing what she can, that she's not giving in to fear. Knowing that your loved one is being strong, centered in peace, can be a great, great sense of relief. Imagine if he was on the front lines, he was facing death, and at the same time, he was completely worried how Goldie was handling everything. That would only add to his worry. Goldie's actually doing him a great, great service. Goldie says, almost 2 years, Chris. Chris K says, if he has made it so far, then there is a 77.77% chance of him to return home safe. Goldie says his home is not with me. He doesn't know how I feel. I I didn't want him to focus on me. Chris K says, I'm sure he will come back. He seems like a strong man. Hey, anyone who would go to a war zone to do humanitarian work is most certainly an amazing person. That's for sure. Goldie says, Eric, he doesn't know. I fast every Wednesday because that's the day he first stepped into Ukraine. Ukraine's a terrible situation. Our friend K. Renee's Garden is here. Hey, Yogi in chat. Hey, Kay, after 30 days in April, what are the chances of you continuing your burpee practice? Or are you going to focus on another exercise? Maybe doing burpees occasionally? Has it become, are you fully immersed in the burpee way of life? Chris K says, Goldie, do you think fasting will help him? You know, the thing is, Chris, it helps her. It helps her deal with the situation that's she's in. And for me, you know, I deal with subtle forces all the time, teaching meditation, practicing meditation, breath work. And when you have faith in the power of prayer, faith in the power of your own peacefulness, when you're centered, when you're steeped, not only is it helping you, it is helping those around you. And who's to say that it isn't helping the person that you are fasting for? For me, I always err on the side of it's better to offer prayers, it's better to fast, it's better to meditate. Again, for what it does for us, but also, you know, we know from quantum physics about non-locality that there's an instantaneous communication between particles. So why wouldn't it? It might. Goldie says hi to Kay. Goldie says he is a strong man of God, and that's the very first thing I love about him. He makes me want to be a better person and Christian. And the amazing thing is, from my experience with Goldie, is that she is an amazing person and an amazing Christian. So imagine him inspiring her to reach that depth even more. Kay says, I would definitely continue praying burpees. Awesome. Practicing. You know, we've talked about this before, that, you know, anything that you do with devotion and you surrender, it's the fifth of the niyamas, which are the personal observances that you practice in yoga, surrendering to God. With that, every rep, every burpee can become a full body prayer. we're blessed with a body, we're blessed with strength, with energy. What better way to demonstrate that blessedness? What better way to say thank you to God? Prayer of thankfulness that I can do this, that I can move. So I know what you meant, and I appreciate the correction, but you know what? I love that thought that I will continue praying burpees. Let's see, Goldie says, I believe in the power of prayer. Chris, and it's also admitting that I don't have the ability to keep him safe. This is true. That's a remarkable way of phrasing that, Goldie. I really appreciate that. Prayer is simply a surrender. As Goldie said, I don't know. How humble is that? I don't have the power to keep him safe. However, I can ask, I can open myself up. Surrender my will for the greater will. I got to say, Chris, I appreciate your openness to share this. And the fact that it gives us gives us an opportunity for all of us to talk and all of us to share these thoughts together. And it shows one thing: we all want peace, and we all want to be at peace, and we all want to have a happy life. Okay, says hi to Goldie and to Chris. It is what it is here as well. He's been, he might have popped out for the moment. Chris says he wants you to live happily, and if he truly loves you, he doesn't need you to do something for him because he wants to do something special for you. I think Goldie would agree with that. He doesn't need it. And as she said, she's doing it because she knows that she can't keep him safe. It's her act of surrendering everything to God. It's in God's hands, reality's hands, the universe's hand. Kay says, so far this month I have done 196 burpees, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And you look good doing them each day. Stronger. Your form day by day looks smooth. You're looking very, it is what it is-ish. You're getting that smoothness down. And as I mentioned before, having, been in the burpee game for a long time, having analyzed a lot of people doing burpees, there's a lot of really strong people. There's a lot of really fast people, powerful people, explosive people. No one combines all of that and makes it look smooth and seamless as Lou is. Top of the game. So when I say that you are starting to look very, it is what it is-ish, that is a definite compliment. Chris says, trust me, he wants you to be happy. Well, he's not here, and you should stop doing things that don't matter and do something to feel better. I think she is, Chris. That it matters to her. That's how you stay centered. That's how you stay centered in the present moment. That this matters to her. Goldie says, Chris, don't you understand? He never asked me to do anything. I'm just doing my part to know that he's safe. And in my mind, the safest place he can be is in the hands of God. Exactly. You surrender and you surrender. And when you have doubt, you surrender the doubt. That doesn't mean you get answers. It just means that you continue a life of continuous surrender. What happens when you empty something out? Becomes empty. Empty space. Capacity. The role of capacity is to always hold things. When we become an empty vessel, we are filled with something. For Goldie, surrendering, becoming that vessel, she's filled with the love of God, the peace of God. And then she can have that, and she offers it, and she empties again, and empties again, and empties again. Chris K says, I think you are the one who doesn't understand. Chris K says, I have been to war for my entire life, and I know a couple of things. Goldie says, I don't even know if he feels the same, Chris. Chris K says you should stop acting like doing something that matters and do something to make him feel like home when he returns. And that could happen when he returns. But now Goldie is acting from her heart. Sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button. And you can never fault someone for acting from their heart, for living their faith. That's living from that heart center. Chris K says, wait, are you married with him? And Goldie says, Chris, things that don't matter to you might mean the world to me. 100%. 100%. It's just a way of letting go of our own, or holding our own opinion a little loose, that it's our opinion based on thoughts that are always changing. We might not be true. We might not be right. For Goldie, her heart tells her to surrender, to pray, to fast. For me, that's really a beautiful act. Living your life from your heart. And by your heart, I don't mean for the sake of egoic or personal love, but love itself, the force of love, the power of love. Chris says, okay. Kay says, it sure is, because Lewis is very impressive. Definitely a compliment. Yeah, I always mention to Lewis the quality of his reps are unquestionably top of the game. Chris K says, I suppose you know a lot more than me, so let's suppose I agree with you. Okay, Goldie? I would say that Goldie certainly knows a lot more about her heart and her faith and her relationship to God than anyone else possibly could. She knows what she needs to do to stay focused, to be steeped in peace, to continue her life. And it's, in my opinion, it's impossible to question that. It's impossible to question someone's commitment to their faith, especially when it's a realized faith, meaning it's not based on the opinion of clergy. It's not based upon what someone else told her. It's based upon how she's living her life. That's pretty amazing. Our friend Noble Scrolling Traveler is here. I hope all is well, brother. It is. Thank you. We're having a pretty deep and meaningful conversation. All the way around. I love everything that's offered. I love everything that's ever offered here anyway, regardless of what it is. And that includes the people that come here to tell me that I'm bald. And I get that fairly often. And it's always a shocking revelation. Like I've heard it for the first time. And I have to run into the bathroom to check to make sure, damn, it's still true. Goldie says, Chris, you don't need to agree with me. Just accept that I might hold something more important than you. Chris, it's her faith. Not her belief, not her opinion, but her faith. And it's unshakable. It doesn't mean, Chris, that Goldie is saying how you think, how you feel is wrong. Not at all. She's saying that this is what she needs to do right now. This is her calling. In yogic terms, this would be her dharma, and she's living it. And it doesn't need to be explained. It doesn't need to be defended. It simply is. That's true peace. When you're beyond the point of having to defend yourself. This is just it. This is how it works. I know where you're coming from, Chris, in this regard. You simply want to help Goldie. You've seen the worst of humanity. You've seen the worst that men can do to each other. You've been there. And you want her to be happy. And that's a really noble and beautiful thing. But at the same time, have some faith that Goldie knows her heart better than anyone else can know it, with the exception of God. And she's taken that heart and she's offering it to God and says, your will, God, not mine. I can only do what I can do here on earth. You can do everything that you can in reality. And she surrenders to that. That takes a lot of not courage. It's courageous, but I don't think it takes courage, because being so steeped in faith that there's no doubt. And sometimes courage is when you do something where you have that little inkling of doubt. And I think her faith is too strong. Not that Goldie needs my defense either, and I don't want to offer it that way. I'm just hoping to open things up a little bit, or offer my perspective on the matter. And I hold the distinct possibility that I could be wrong about everything that I say. Destiny says, hello, Eric. I made it. Thank you, Destiny. I'm happy to have you here. I'm taking my melatonin and ashwagandha, which I mention every night. I am not the only one that takes ashwagandha here. Our friend Noble takes ashwagandha as well. Destiny is saying hi to Noble and to Chris K. Goldie is saying, just saying that you don't have to agree with me. Exactly. And here's the wonderful thing about Goldie, that she's unswayed in her faith, but she doesn't try to convince other people that you need to have this faith in her way as she does. This is her. She's centered in that. For me, it's admirable, beautiful. I have a similar place in my life based upon my meditation, my breath work, my yoga practice. Goldie and I come from two different traditions, but both are meaningful for us. And this is why she has my utmost respect and admiration, as you do as well, Chris. Destiny says hello to Kay. Chris says, hi, Destiny, how are you? And we got some hellos going on. Our friend Holgal is here, saying hello. How are you, my friend? Chris Case says, okay, Goldie, good luck. I'm going to wish that across the board to all of us. Good luck, good fortune, good peace, good love. May we all be centered in good love. It's the message of metta meditation, METTA, also known as loving kindness meditation, where we simply put out love, beginning with us. That's where everything begins. Every prayer starts here. Every loving meditation, every loving kindness meditation starts right here. We offer it to ourselves because when we're steeped in it, when we have it, that's what we have to give away. But we can't give out love if we haven't rediscovered it within ourselves, in our heart. It's there, it's ever present, it's who we are. But as we've been talking about through much of this conversation, it's covered by ego. It's covered by thoughts that it isn't there. It's covered by the busyness of life, that we stay so focused on all the trivial stuff. Not that what we're talking about above is trivial, but, you know, the busyness of life has everything. In Taoism, they call it the 10,000 things. So there's a lot of trivial stuff. There's also a lot of stuff that we simply have no control over, that we worry about. There is that incessant pounding of the news media, putting out all of this. Right now, something beautiful in the world happened. Right now, someone forgave someone. Right now, there's two countries that are not at war with each other. There's two countries or more that are cooperating with each other. Right now, there is Goldie's Love, who is in a war zone doing humanitarian work. That's as much news as any of this bad stuff that we're constantly bombarded with. All of that is just as much news. We never hear it. You'll never see the ticker tape on CNN saying peace broke out wherever, or all of the infinite, wonderful, beautiful things that are happening. We'll never see that. You'll never hear a newscaster. Every once in a while, they do a feel-good story. There's more feel-good stuff going on in life than bad stuff, by far. That doesn't deny that bad stuff is happening. But where is our focus on? And what we put our focus on, and this is something that Destiny has talked about numerous times. What we put our focus on expands. So goes our life. One of Destiny's favorite lines, as man thinketh in his heart. So how can you not help but think of all the horrible things going on in life, because that's what we're constantly told over and over and over again. We need a paradigm shift. And if we're always steeped in fear and worry, we never get that paradigm shift. Everything stays the same. The paradigm shift means that peace is possible right here, right now. And it begins with me, by me practicing peace. I can't control anyone else. I can't even control myself. Not my little self. Self with a small, I can't make the letter S. I can make C's. Self with a small s. The self with a big S, that's who we are. That's egoless. Pure spirit, pure potentiality, pure unconditional loving awareness. When we bring our attention back there, we start dealing with possibilities. And the possibility could well be that we can create peace right here, right now in our lifetime. And the pessimistic part of us says that'll never happen. Of course not, because we haven't made that paradigm shift within our own selves to say, of course it can happen. If we can have war, we can certainly have peace. Goldie says, thank you, Chris. And our friend Destiny says, thumbs up and share out this super amazing channel. Thank you, my friend. Goldie says, Chris K, I'll let Eric know. And Destiny says, please don't forget to smash the like button and shout if you haven't already. Much love. Thank you for that. Algo says, it's like so. That's why it feels like there's a draft in here. I actually wouldn't mind a bit of a draft in here. It is 80, I think it might get up to 87 today, mid-April. It was in the 60s yesterday, and back into the 60s again tomorrow. Destiny says, thanks for your love and support, and thanks for coming, everyone. And she's saying to Kay, you worked out very good today, Kay. Yeah, she did. Amazing. It's amazing to me that we watch It Is What It Is. We watch the Jay Jordan, and we see how completely miserable burpees are. And yet, there's something within us that says, but I'm going to do them. And then you rock them. You rock 76 of them. You rock 15 days in a row, like Kay. That's a pretty big thing, you know, because you see how difficult they are. You see the Jay Jordan, you see Lewis. So it's not like you're, thinking, I'm going to step in and it's going to be a breeze. You guys went into these type of challenges knowing full well what you were getting yourselves into, and you did it with an open heart. Absolutely amazing. Chris K says, Ashley Goldie, what are you holding that is more important than mine? I'm going to let Goldie answer that without my interference. But I think I can surmise what our friend Goldie might say. Kay says, thank you, Miss Destiny. Chris K says, well, it kind of is, Goldie, and also don't delete your messages. Goldie says, I might have misjudged, but it seems like you were saying that praying and fasting are meaningless. I'm sorry if I misunderstood. Chris Gray says, trust me, not even God can save people from death. I think she acknowledged that she's not trying to save anyone from death. She's not praying to change the course of what might or might not happen. Cody says, no, I realized that I forgot a couple of words, so that's all. Chris, my grammar Nazi, acting up. Goldie says, well, Chris, I believe he can. Our friend Odom is here. Hey, just a Yogi doing burpees in his basement. Hey, Odom is a good example of what we're talking about in his way, that he talks about some of the struggles that he's had and how he found peace through gardening. Absolutely amazing. You give yourself to these things. You give yourself to the things that have meaning to you. There's never any need to explain them to others, to defend them to others. It's what you do. It's why, and I think I might read this tomorrow, and I've read it quite a few times here, what they call the Mother Teresa prayer. They found it written on the orphanage, the hospital where she was working. And in the end, it says, because it was never about you and anyone else anyway. It's always between you and God. As I mentioned before, I'm going to start reading from my blog, but I also want to read inspirational passages from holy texts that have inspired me, all kinds of stuff as well. And if there's anything that we've discussed here, books, passages, or whatever, that you would like me to read and share, just let me know. If there's something that has meaning to you that you would like me to read, I'm happy to do it. Just let me know. Chris says, I suppose, again, you know way more things than all of us. Gordy says that I'm a grammar freak, trying to have flowing sentences. And again, Chris, I don't really think that that is where Goldie is coming from at all. She's not telling anyone else to do what she does. She's not saying, hey, everyone should fast on Wednesdays and pray. She's doing what she feels called to do from her heart. Chris, that's not what's happening. She didn't call you anything. If you look at the above, she says that she is a grammar freak, trying to have flowing sentences. She was trying to correct her grammar. Destiny is saying hello and blessings to Odom. And it is what it is here. And he says, Chris, calm down. Offering a salute to Sister Destiny and to Kay. Big salute to Kay. And Goldie says, I said, grammar freak, fixed on trying correctly. So, Chris, I consider you a friend, but I'm not going to have any name calling in here. Everyone here is for the benefit of each other. Everyone here is reaching out and continues to reach out to anyone who ever comes here with anything they wish to talk about. And there's never, ever any need to call anyone a name. Especially when Goldie took the time to explain what she did and what she meant. It is what it is, says Chris. It is lucky that I don't have a wrench. Well, we can fix that pretty quickly. Chris says you don't have a what? Chris, one of the things that we're talking about here is peace and making that paradigm shift within ourselves. So that's what we have to give out. So the one request that I would ask of you as a friend is find that sense of peace right now for yourself, not for anyone else. When you touch upon that, I think you'll see where Goldie is coming from. Lewis says, calling people stupid isn't okay here. No, it certainly isn't. And Lewis says she didn't call you a freak. Goldie says, please read what I wrote. I was talking about myself. Chris, you always have a right to defend yourself. However, where is that defense coming from? It's based upon, unfortunately, it's based upon a misunderstanding. It's based upon fiction, because she didn't call you a freak. She was referring to herself as being a control freak on her grammar, how she likes to express herself. The expression is Nazi freak, grammar Nazi, that when you're so strict in how you want things to be presented, that you're instantly, constantly correcting them. In no way does it refer to you. Goldie, particularly in this conversation, has been very peaceful and understanding, as she's been in every conversation ever. Chris says, okay, guys, nice joke. Yeah, no issues here at all, Chris. Again, just find that sense of peace that I know you have, because you've always been so kind here to everyone. So I know there's a lot of worry on your end. I know this isn't an easy time. There's a lot of stress. You've been through a lot, not just these past couple of days, but you've been through a lot for a long time. Nothing I say can make that any easier, ever. So I really can't try other than to let you know that here in this conversation, there's nothing but love. Trust me. I would say something to Goldie if I thought that she had called you a name. I wouldn't accept that on her end any more than I would accept it on anyone else's end. And I know Goldie wouldn't do such a thing. Especially she wouldn't do that on someone else's live stream. She has way too much respect. Destiny says, blessings and love, everyone. Please respect the chat guidelines, the host and his guest. The host truly appreciates you for joining him in his live discussions. Much love, family. Exactly. Perfect ending to that. Much love, family. That's all there is right here. There's much love, family. Kay says, right, Eric, so true. Anyone who goes into burpees open-eyed like that, knowing what they're getting themselves into, deserves all the respect in the world. Chris says, or is it what it is, says, Chris, I'm surprised something like that can trigger you. You're a war man, aren't you? Kay says hi to Goldie. Or, I'm sorry, to Odom. And Lewis offers some great guidelines. Just respect the chat, bro. Very simple. Chris says, I want to find peace, my friend. I'm getting married soon. You will. Here's the amazing thing about peace. It's already here. It's who you are. It's just hidden. It's hidden through all the stuff that you've been through. And again, you've been through a whole lot. More than I can imagine. More than I would ever want to imagine. And Chris, my heart literally breaks when I think about the stuff that you've been through. Even recently, the stress that you had yesterday. But think how you handled that yesterday. Think how the peace that you had, you were in an opportunity where violence could have easily broken out. But you stayed true to the conviction that you didn't want that to happen. And things worked out in that direction. Had you come in there with a different attitude, who knows what might have happened. So that's the sense of peace of who you are. And you just keep going back to that. You keep returning until it seems like things part and you realize it's always been there. It's always been there. Stay centered in the breath. Stay centered in the heart center. It's right there. You can put your hand on it and you can feel if your heart is beating rapidly, if you're breathing in the chest, if you're breathing through the mouth, you're not centered in peace. All you have to do, focus on breathing in through the nose, exhale through the nose. Focus on your belly, slightly expanding, slightly going back. And that brings the breath down from the chest, back into the heart. You feel the heart start to slow down. There's your sense of peace. Start with your body, because that's what we have. Sometimes it's hard to start with a more subtle energy, meditation, prayer, energy work. All of that's valuable. All of that's amazing. Sometimes we need to start with the body because that's where we're located right now. So it seems. So we come back to the breath. Always come back to the breath. The breath tells you everything. If you're reacting, it's because you're in that sympathetic nervous state, fight or flight. Use your breath to come back to the sympathetic, rest and digest. And it can happen in a minute. It can happen in 10 breaths. Breathing in through the nose for a count of 4. Breathe out of the nose for a count of 4. You do 10 breaths like that, your physiological state, your neurological state, your spiritual state changes in 10 breaths. And Chris, again, you're going to find that peace and you're going to have a very, very happy marriage. You're going to have that happy marriage because you want to find that peace. And that's what you want to offer your lovely bride. Odom is saying hi to everyone. Destiny says, Lewis, how are you? Great burpees workout today. And amazingly, he doesn't look like 2 days ago that he did 1,000 reps. Goldie says, again, congratulations, Chris. It is what it is, says, then get on your knees and pray, Chris. When Wayne Dyer quit drinking, he said that he became a camel. And a camel is a person and an animal that begins its day on its knees and ends its day, because camels sleep on their knees, and ends its day on its knees and can go 24 hours without a drink. Beautiful analogy. And it doesn't have to be just drinking. As Lewis says, begin your day on your knees, and it can be symbolically, just surrendering to the day itself. Whatever's going to happen today, I'm going to return myself to peace. No matter how often I step out of peace, I have the ability to be responsibility, and come back to peace. Peacefulness is who and what we are. Anything that's outside of that peacefulness is a thought, is a belief, or an opinion. So all we have to do is give up that thought, replace it with a higher energy thought. That's across the board for everything in life. That's where the paradigm shift happens. When we know that this is, again, I'm going to be paraphrasing our friend Destiny, change your thoughts and you change your life. If we want peace, we think peaceful thoughts. Peace isn't going to arise from thoughts of discord, thoughts of anger, thoughts of hatred, anything that is not of peace. Peace only comes from the thought of peace. I always like to refer to Thomas Troward, the great British mystic, who said the laws of flotation didn't arise from contemplating that which doesn't float. Meaning, if you want peace, you can't think about all the things that aren't peace. That doesn't lead you there. If you want something that floats, you got to think about things that can float. Chris K says, no, I'm good. Chris, find your way to peace. Find what works for you. Lewis says, doing fantastic, Sister Destiny. How are you doing? Lewis says, and that's your problem, bro. Sorry. Chris Say says, you have woken up the soldier inside me again. Actually, you know, some of the most peaceful people I've ever met, including Mocha, have been to war. Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Vietnamese Zen Buddhist, passed away 2 or 3 years ago. His entire life was in a war zone. He wasn't a warrior, but he was a passionate believer in peace and spent his life in that war zone helping people. That is as much of a warrior as anyone who's ever held a weapon. It is what it is. With some perfect device, then do some burpees. Burn that energy doing that. Chris says, listen, bro, I'm not that man anymore. Chris, I believe you. I believe that you are not that man anymore. Again, just stay centered in what you want. Simple as that. When you want peace, you do your best. That doesn't mean that you're not going to get angry, but you always know that you can return to that peace. Destiny says, blessings and love, family. Eric, appreciate you for all your love and support to this love discussion. It is what it is, says, who are you talking to, Chris? Goldie says, English is my English. See that? I didn't even get that out. English is my third language. So trying to make it, not let it show that I'm not a native speaker. The amazing thing is, Goldie, um, it's really not evident that it's your third language, uh, because you're very fluid in your writing. Desi says, please abide by the chat guidelines and respect the host and his guest. And it is all about respect. There's no one here that would ever call anyone a name or offer disrespect. So with that in mind, everyone can rest easy that no one is ever doing anything insidious. Chris K, I'm talking to everyone that you all should think before you say something to others. It is what it is wrenched. Well, you know what, Lewis, the one thing I know for certain is you've always had my back. I can't think of a better way of showing you how much I respect that and appreciate that. Not only that, in any discussion that I've ever seen you in, and I saw it today on Noble's live stream, you have everyone's back. Chris, if someone came in here and started to insult you, it is what it is, would have you back in an instant. He would be there for you. He would defend you. He told the other person, whoever it was, even if it was me, hey, that's not what this place is about. In an instant, without any hesitation. Chris K, it is what it is, has your back, 100%. Not only that, Goldie has your back. If someone came in here insulting you, Chris, Goldie would take him to task in an instant. She would do it kindly. Destiny Forever Walks, PhD, has your back. She would not let anyone disrespect you, Chris. I have your back. So we can chalk up some of this conversation to simple and easy misunderstanding, to tension, to stress. The conversation started with a lot of fear for what might be happening in the world. It needed to be diffused, and we've done it. We can end the conversation soon, a few minutes, knowing that we've dispelled with that tension, that we're back to that peacefulness, that we are here offering each other love and respect. Cody says, Chris, please hear me out. If I hurt you in any shape or form, please forgive me. Destiny says, disrespect the host and his guests. You can be timed out, deleted, or blocked. Let's show respect to everyone. A little love goes a long way. It certainly does. Goldie says, it was never my intent. It is what it is, says Goldie, you're so kind. I respect that. Destiny says, Lewis, thanks for your help and encouraging words. I think it's time for me to leave. Destiny says, please don't forget. Have a great rest of your day, Sister Destiny. And Destiny is offering some very kind, thoughtful words before she leaves for the evening. Please don't leave without leaving a thumbprint on the like button. I much appreciate that, Destiny. Goldie says, have a lovely afternoon and evening, Destiny. Kay says, Eric, I love your calm and peaceful demeanor. Thank you, Kay. I appreciate that. Destiny says, Eric, thanks for your kindness and your marvelous discussions. Blessing and love to you. I am leaving now unless you want me to do something else here in the chat. No, Destiny, thank you. Thank you for all you do. It's much appreciated and very, very much loved. Sorry that we also didn't get a chance to discuss some more of our areas of interest, but you know what? We always have the next discussion and many more to come. And you know, I always say it's open for everything. This was a perfect opportunity for all of us to offer love and offer peace when it seemed like that might not be possible. And that includes our friend Chris, because as he says, that's what he wants. And you know what? I honestly think that's what he's going to get. He's going to get that sense of peace, and he's going to have a truly happy and marvelous wedding in 3 weeks. Goldie says, Destiny, I always tap the like button before I say hi there, lovely people. And I absolutely love that. I love the entrance. Always love the entrance that you guys have when you come in there. Lewis says, right, Kay. I need me some of Eric's kindness. You already have it. I see it. It's kindness that wants you to have everyone's back, Lewis. Like I said, on Noble's channel today, you stepped right in. Somebody thought they were insulting him. You stepped right in and said, it's not how we're going to do it. Destiny says, thanks, Goldie. That's a great thing to do. Blessings and love to you. And Goldie says, thank you. Chris K says, sorry, guys. It seems that I am the problem here, so you will never hear from me again. You're not the problem at all, Chris. It wasn't a problem. It was just a discussion that, in some ways, some avenues, took some interesting roads. But you know what? All roads come back to center. All roads come back to peace. And you're already there. And again, you know, series of misunderstandings. Goldie says, no, Chris, please don't go. You need this chat more than I do. Actually, no one has to go. I need you all. Actually, every single one of you. Without you guys, I'm just a yogi in his office talking to himself, which I've done before, or my cats. So I appreciate every single one of you. Goldie says, if you want, I'll keep quiet. It doesn't change who I am or what I believe. I would absolutely not want Goldie to keep quiet. Goldie, you are an essential part of this community, a central part of my live chats. I value our discussion. And, you know, again, you and I, we have different traditions. You told me right off the bat that, you know, you avoid yoga, not your thing. And yet, you've listened to me have long discussions about it without ever batting an eye, without ever saying, Eric, you're wrong. You've been nothing but open with who you are and accepting of who I am. That's a beautiful thing. And right here on this live stream, what an amazing thing to happen, to see that it can happen, to see that, right now, Chris is saying, hey, if I'm the problem, I'm going to leave. And Chris, we're telling you, you're not the problem. Different way of seeing things, different way of handling things. And it got maybe a little out of hand for a moment. Chris, I have no doubt that if someone came in here and was disruptive, that you would have everyone's back as well. I have no doubt that you would have Goldie's back, that you would have It Is What It Is back, Destiny's and mine, Kay's, Odom's, all of us. I don't even have an inkling of doubt that you're a very, very good man, and in your heart, a very peaceful man who's had some very tough experiences. Destiny says, peace comes from within. That is why we should take breathing practices to release all negative energy, and then inhale new and positive energy and prana. Exactly. 100%. And it's an easy thing to do. 10 breaths. 10 breaths can change your life. Or you could do one of Thich Nhat Hanh's beautiful, simple, one breath meditation and just repeat it. Breathing out. Breathing in, I bring myself to peace. Breathing out, I surrender to peace. This is a peaceful moment. One breath. 3 sentences. Breathing in, I bring myself to peace. Breathing out, I surrender to peace. This is a peaceful moment. And so it is. And it happens instantly like that. The wonderful thing about an instant, it's always another instant. It's always morphing into that next instant. It's not one thing. It's eternity. It's the infinite. You have this breath, and you have the response. You have the responsibility to choose peace. Kay says, I agree, Miss Destiny. I find myself in agreement with Miss Destiny 99.9999999% of the time. I could probably keep going with the nines, but I'm pretty sure you guys got the point. Destiny says, thanks, Kay. Goldie says, but I can only build people up if they allow me to. I agree. And then we let it alone. We put it out there that you're willing, and then we just let it alone. That's all we can do. Goldie says, Eric, I have a question just to highlight who I am. Goldie says, what was the very first channel you made as a moderator? I choose to come in with this one. Goldie says, please don't answer out loud. Okay. Goldie, as I mentioned, I have absolutely no doubt of who you are, and that you are steeped in faith and love. The two can be the same. I think it's synonymous. It's synonymous with you, because your faith is love and your love is faith. And I can't tell you how much that means to me and how much it affects me to know that you and Destiny, that these people who are just full of love and givingness, that people like Odom, who gets so joyful in his garden that he spontaneously breaks out in song, that we have Kay, the burpee warrior, that we have It Is What It Is, who always has everyone's back, that we have someone who is so passionate about peace that he's putting it all out there, and that's Chris K. That my friend Noble Savage, I keep saying Noble Savage, and I don't know why. Noble, entire channel based upon how much he can give of himself to other people. Truly fortunate to find myself part of this. So, with that, I think it's a good time to say goodnight. It's actually literally past my bedtime, believe it or not. I think this might be my longest live stream session yet. But it was worthwhile. It was worthwhile to dig into this stuff. For all of us to respond in the way that we did, however we did. Gordy says, thank you for a lovely live and chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. Man, I really appreciate everyone being here. Goldie, Destiny, K, Chris K, It Is What It Is, Odom and Noble. We did not have Flower here because I mentioned to Flower that I was concerned. This is like when she comes in the evening sessions, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning for her. And I had mentioned that I was concerned, her being up that late and then going to school. And she told me this afternoon that she doesn't come in the evening sessions anymore because she knew that I was concerned. Oh, Goldie says Holgo was here. Holgo, thank you as well, my friend. And thank you, Goldie, for bringing that to my attention. I don't like to forget anyone. And I think I covered everyone. For the people who showed up and listened and didn't participate, and I think there might have been a few, I appreciate that too, because you're lending your energy to what's going on. So, guys, with that, I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to do my own breath work, my own pre-bed breathing routine. Read a little bit. Here's one last tip before I say goodnight. To steep yourself in peace, read something peaceful before you go to bed and take that with you in your heart and your mind. Read the Bible, read the Bhagavad Gita, read the Tao Te Ching, read the Upanishads, read the Zohar, Hebrew mysticism, read the great mystics, the Dharmapada from Buddhism, the Heart Sutra, whatever it is that brings that sense of peace to you. Just spend 5 minutes before you go to sleep reading that. Favorite passage from the Bible. Here's what I would recommend. St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians. Read that before you go to bed. Or, not in the Bible, but it's a wonderful prayer. Prayer of St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Go to sleep with it. Let that work with you. Last thing on your mind before you drift off. Peace. In yoga, it's Om Shanti. So with that, that's what we're going to offer right here. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. That means Om, the sound of the universe, and peace, peace, peace. Goldie says, how about the Serenity Prayer? The Serenity Prayer is perfect. Wonderful thing to go to sleep. Destiny says, please don't leave without leaving a thumbprint on the like button. Thanks for joining Eric for the live discussion. You are all very much loved and appreciated. Such true words. You guys are very much loved and appreciated. Kay says, Good night, everyone. Thank you for me live. Thank you. Meaningful. Thank you. And you know what? I think it was meaningful. I appreciate that. Okay. And I appreciate you being here. And I'm looking forward to the burpees tomorrow. I'm looking forward to your burpees tomorrow. I'm not looking forward to my burpees tomorrow. Tomorrow is burpee interval day, and it is always the most painful day of the week. So, guys, thank you again very much, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Kay says, thank you, Yogi. You're welcome.